All right, Nish, take us down to the table. Oh my God. I love this energy. It's so cool. It's insane. Insanity is here. I'll tell you, I was just listening to somebody talk about the bicameral mind when because it came out of trauma, and that's the culprit. That's the cause of the coronavirus, our bicameral minds. And I think there might be something to be said on that, but you got to unpack it. And I can't do that right now. I can only look at what's going on right in front of me.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing for everyone to remember right now. And because there's a million theories out there, and, I have my own. It happens to line up with JJ's, but, and a lot of people I talked about this last show where I'm saying it's a war. This is a different war. People don't understand how big it is. It's galactic. Yeah. And, but at the bottom line of everything, no matter what you're doing, you got to just kind of stay focused in your world. You can't get, it's like, that's where I'm seeing people losing it. And it's what's keeping me funny and my humor on is like just processing stuff that's coming out of the political world. I'm like, holy shit. So it's fantastic to wake up and see two suns. I love it. I'm like,
oh, okay. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, I'm leaving a little note to JJ, and and I'm just in here babbling, carrying on, and I look out. I'm always in my dining room. This is kind of like this is the war room. This is like central area. My dining room table is the war table. I got the tarot side. I've got the reading side. I got a computer side. It's a round table. And so, and it's got these big bay window. You can sit in it, but I have stuff all in it. And I look out and there's this strangely cast light. And I'm used to strange cast light these days. I think most people are with chemtrailing and all this weird weather. But it's very unusual. And as a showbiz girl, I'm just, lighting something you notice, right, Bibi? And so I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like straight out of the Wizard of Oz. This is like on set. Are we on set? And where's the gaffer? And so I just couldn't believe it. Took me by surprise. And I was actually babbling in a little voicemail to JJ when it happened. So she's got like the surprise of me noticing it. But it was like this crazy blackness towards Portland. I'm not in Portland, but I can see the skies over it across the Columbia. And I'm not in Vancouver. Thank you for stalkers, but you can go to Vancouver. And then I noticed like the dual lighting. That's what's making it so strange is that there's a big light source coming from both sides. And I thought, I'm like, from setting up lights and doing lights and being around that kind of stuff my whole life. I understand light source. I understand refraction. I understand all this. And so it just took me by surprise. So I'm looking up there. I sure as hell see the sun in what is an advanced state in the sky for like, I'd say 8 o'clock, like sunset. It's over far over there where it sets. And then across the sky is where the sun should be at this time. I don't know, like my mind kind of shorted out. So I got off, then I stumbled out there. And remember, I just got up. So what do? I put on my big chugs, I love my, I got to get some height and I just don't have sensible shoes ever. And so, and my yard's crazy. And so I'm out there stumbling around looking like some crazy witch hag. And And the grass is so long, it's piled over. It's gorgeous. If you've never let your grass grow long, let your grass grow long, people. Let your hair grow hair. And so I'm trying to stumble through, though, in these wedges, and it's wet as hell. And I see all clearly. The chemtrails are coming in fast. I see it clearly. I'm trying to record it. I do get some video, by God, but it's hard to tell that the sphere of the sun behind my big trees is a sphere and that the other one is, but you can clearly see they're different light sources. So, but with the naked eye, you can see they're way different light sources, and there's no way the light travels all the way across the sky and then has like a generation point again where it's intense and bright at the other side. It looked like stage lighting to me. It's crazy. So,
I think this has been proven in empirically peer-reviewed papers that have been, they're attempting to hide them. I seem to recall. So I got a question. The first thing that occurs to me is that Nish is seeing energetically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, there's that. But this is also, it's a reality. I know it's a reality. A lot of people haven't even come across that concept.
Right.
Truly, because I do have a tendency myself to get a little insulated in the people that I share things with. And I don't realize there's a whole bunch of people who I think are beginning to catch on that something is a little different.
Yes.
than what they were taught. But it's just as an impression that it's your energetic, highly developed skills as a seer, along with the actual physical atom molecule reality of two suns happening right now.
Bibi is unbelievable. And I do see stuff all the time in the sky. Like I definitely have noticed. I've taken a lot of video, and when I'm with people too, it's like, is that possibly another? I mean, how is it that the light is actually refracting all the way over there? Like, but this, I saw two sources with my naked eye. It's the first time I got to see two sources with these chemtrails rolled in so fast. So now it looks like it's 8:00 at night out here.
Well, now, hold on a minute there, Missy. Let's roll back 30 seconds. Those chemtrails rolled in so fast,
Yes.
What's up with that?
Well, in my video, half the sky, so one half, so on the other half, so if we quartered it, there's a sun on each, or some sort of light source on each side. And then the other, so if you take it from there to there on one that whole half, like I'd say the upper sphere, or one whole half, it's just gray black. And the other half looks fairly normal. The clouds look puffy and like old school clouds with the new modern hazy blue that we have for skies. Even on sunny days, it's not that same color that used to be.
Right.
But that looked normal, and now it's just taken over the whole sky. So I didn't see, this is the unusual thing, I didn't see streaking anywhere. It's in my video. I didn't see streaking, but it's, by the time I came in and looked out my window again, both those sources are completely covered in dark clouds.
Yeah.
And that it's a matter of like 3 minutes, Bibi.
If even that long.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fast. And this is the thing, like our slants and stuff with how we view our point of view from the earth. I can say it and you can run out, but we're looking at the sky from different points of view. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the concepts people have, they struggle with in astrology too, and astronomy. And so everyone thinks they should be seeing the same thing as you. It's like, okay, no, is this the crux of why everything is fucked up? Ooh, sorry, Bibi blog. And
no, let her rip, let her go,
honey. Yeah. These are the times for an F-bomb.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I've actually seen the double twice now, and recently, but next to, like, two smack next to each other. So,
yeah, I've
seen a lot of crazy changes with the sun recently too. But
and you're a sun gazer, so you're out there looking at it every day. I'm not necessarily. And I use my welding glasses that I got for eclipse viewing to see, because I was a sun gazer at one time. I noticed during that time my eyesight started to go down, so I stopped. But I was also doing a lot of really detailed artwork too. So I don't know what's what. I just pulled back because it was all in that time period. I started to get a little more fuzzy eye vision. So now I look with those glasses to see what I'm looking at, and it's always spherical and I see weird things, but Lord, what a weird day to wake up. And then the candle, the candle seems insignificant to anyone else, but it's significant to me enough that I was like, what's going on? You know?
I get it. I want to hear more.
Well, I've been buying the same candles for years and years and years. Why? Because when something's good, you want to stock up on it and have it. And I'm a candle burner. And so, I never have a problem with wicks. You know how some candles with wicks have problems? Mm-hmm. These have never, not once with these candles in a decade of using the same brand. And so and before anything I do on air or talk with others, I always light a candle. I've always done this, and I get the instant going and all that. And, so I light it. I think nothing. I'm offering my intention to the candle, and I hear, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It's got some comment. And this candle's talking back already. And this is going to be a doozy of a day. And so, and then it just fizzles totally out. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I read signs. I mean, this is what I think all seers do anyway, right? We're looking at signs. And so I go at it again, and it does the same thing. And I'm thinking, did it get wet? Was there, I have a hanging antique lamp. I put it in. And so it's just there's nothing. So I went to, and this happened like 3 times with it. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm telling JJ this too. And, I tell JJ when I go fart, it's like a flatulence happened. JJ, I had some flatulence. So JJ is like my living diary. And so, oh man, I have a cough here. It's the corona. Anyway, so Jesus, this is me like first thing in the morning. And so I go and I get the knife. I'm going to get another candle in there. And then I'm like to myself, no, hell no. I'm going to use this candle. What is this candle trying to tell me? So I do it. And, I peel back the wax and reveal more of the wick and all that. And sure enough, I light it up again. There's plenty of wick now. And it does the same thing. So this is where the Taurus in me got real stubborn. I'm like, and the witch in me is like, well, if you're going to use the same candle, cut and flip. And I was like, no, bitch, you were going to work the right way from the right side. And so I threw my intent in it again, and it was going to be my last straw. And it fizzled, but then it went up finally. But I was throwing heavy intent into it, like real intent on it. And because I didn't know if that meant one of us was in danger, the snuffing candle is a very big idea. And so I just held it, and I threw this heavy intent that we're all okay. And Bibi, you were late. And so I'm like, that's what I said to JJ. I'm like, I hope Bibi's all right.
Aww.
And so, I got the candle. The candle's fine now, but I'm just stating that I'm out of bed now like 30 minutes, and already this series of very strange events. And I just want to preface this with last night. Okay, so weird sleep lately, but last night, I went to bed at like 5 a.m. I went into this mode of, I'm not a fear person at all. You won't. That's why when I'm speaking things I think are scary to people, I always try to ground them back into a shared reality so that they can get hold of themselves and like this. remind people to breathe in deep.
Yeah.
And including myself. But last night I got off my rocker a little, and I'm still up a little because my back hurts, honey. And I started to, it wasn't fear. I started sensing this huge disturbance in the auric field of Earth. And it was concerning. I couldn't separate myself from it. It was really affecting me. I could see how if I weren't so grounded, I would have been in utter paranoia and fear last night into the night. And, you know, I checked in and honed in on some people I enjoy listening to that are talking truths that I'm hearing and experiencing. And so I'm in alignment with them. And, you know, they're talking that it's amazing. One I hadn't listened to in a few, like maybe a couple weeks. And, she was talking all the same stuff I'm talking, and had been feeling like, get the metals off your body right now. Stop taking, you know, if you're taking colloidal silver and all that. Like, I knew this, and I'd been preparing for this particular time astrologically for over a decade. So like a decade ago, I was over a decade. I went and intentionally had all my metal fillings replaced with the intent of this particular astrological climate happening right here. This is what it is. In my calendar, I have written I shouldn't say calendar, in my ephemerides, which is the big Rosicrucian one, the best one. And I have this day today scheduled as the beginning of the end. I don't know where I'm coming from with those words, but it's circled, and that's my little annotation on the side. And I'm not an end times prophecy person, so it's not like I was like, okay, the world's ending, but it's the beginning of the end of something, some cycle. And I need to dig into it further because I just turned onto that page, you know, the March, April.
That's amazing.
And so all this stuff, but last night, like I'm saying, I guess in the morning, I could have been really overcome by deep paranoia, deep fear. If I were a different person, I had to breathe it out. And here's the most important part. I had to stay with it. I couldn't put my head in the sand with it. I wasn't going to be like, no, I don't see you. I'm just going to breathe you out and ignore you. No, I walked with this feeling of deep concern. I moved through it, and I let it express itself in healthy ways while breathing and trying to see what it was trying to communicate to me in the ways I'm able to hear and see and feel. And so that's where it is. And, you know, I woke up in a fine mood. Clearly, look at me, I'm a joker. And, I mean, I always say, people don't know this from listening to me live on the line, but you know, I'm a comedian. And so, yeah, I woke up in a fine mood, but here we are. The strangeness is continuing. And I think, and with that note in my calendar, something's shifting today. Something is. And I haven't, Bibi, I didn't get a good look at the astrology this week.
Oh, it's all over what you're talking about. I don't have it in front of me, but I do know that Mercury is out of its shadow as of yesterday. Okay. And there are so many conjunctions regarding Mars and Uranus and Pluto and Saturn right now. And quick question: your sun is Taurus, right?
In tropical and Vedic, I'm Aries.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you at a later degree?
No, I'm at 20. I'm at I'm April 26th. I'm in the first decan.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that go for it, JJ.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I actually, because you said that, Nish, I also have today's date in my book. From last year, for some reason, I wrote it down that I was seeing, it was when the whole Mr. Bigsley dream came up, and it was showing me today's date.
Ooh wee.
I have it written down. I was like, well, you guys were talking, I'm like, which book is that in? Which planner? Which notebook? Because I suddenly remembered, oh my God, this is what I wrote down.
Yes. And you know what? I suspect we're not alone. I bet if I go back and I look at, like, I love Joni Patry. I bet she's talked about, I always seem to have these dates that she hones in on too. I bet we're not alone with it, looking at this particular date. And then here we are, it turns over to April 1st, which is my grandmother's birthday, which is significant to me personal, but it's also been like, April's my birth month. And I don't know, there's something about April that's always, and I'm not saying this as a person born in April, and I think I chose it because I love April. But there's always something that kind of shifts over from March to April for me no matter what the year is in my life. And there's something big going around April 26th, which is my birthday, that I told you to, I think, only on our table here. You know, where in October, where I was seeing my mom when she was 6 months out from having me. And so, and in my video, this is debuting tomorrow, premiering tomorrow, there's a sync up with that idea, with a birthing idea. And so I feel like we've just crossed over a line, ladies. I feel like we are crossing right now we're on a bridge.
You know what happens every 100 years? I don't know enough about the astrology, but there's a certain configuration that happens that brings a global pandemic. There's some kind of a shifting. It's so huge that it affects human beings on this massive physical scale. And yeah, they're talk about the shifting, you know, where that old age is just grinding its way by, and we're coming into, we've never been here before. I mean, we have in a certain way, but not here, not now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is all like new territory. And you know what comes to mind when we say shifting? It's like, think about that. It's hard to keep your feet grounded when things are shifting. It's hard to stay footed.
I feel like the last 2 years I'll be going where I feel like I'm going to levitate, and then suddenly I will almost fall. I have to catch myself because I feel like I weigh, you know, literally a ton, or that there's this really, really deep gravitational force that's pulling me towards the center of the earth, and I feel like I'm on a boat. That's, for me though, that's been going on for a while. And it's not changed.
But it's still, you know, like the metaphor of it is tight, because things are shifting and people are losing their footing everywhere.
Yes. And ultimately, you know, as I said the last time we talked, I just think it's great because it's the shock that's bringing people to open up their eyes. And
Good morning, everyone.
Exactly. Yes, and may you be greeted by Nish like this. Oh.
I'm serving you up a side of Agra and Galinda all in one. Now picture that.
Yes.
I guess it would be like the hag with the red hair. It's like Broomhilda with red hair. It's a combo. Where are my hairpins? So, hello, ladies. I love you. I've missed this. It's been too long. I feel like we just jumped in, but I definitely wanted to greet you both properly since we're on the show.
Hello, darlings. I'm going to ask both of you. Well, first, I'll just say I'm really low energy for no reason other than what we're speaking of. So I'm going to let you just go riff it. You know, just do it up, and I'm happily here holding well, I was going to say holding the fort, but that's not the best metaphor, or is it?
Girl, you're stirring the cauldron. That's an important role.
The cauldron.
The cauldron's on the table.
The cauldron is deeply on the table. The cauldron, it's Irish and it's Chinese.
Yes.
Ancient.
It's the center of the house. I mean, it's the hearth. It's everything. It's the heart. And so, I mean, people that get the one idea of cauldron is like just witches at the cauldron. It's everything in ancient cultures. This is what, I mean, it's literally the center of your existence. And people had to tend to the hearth and the cauldron to keep everything going, the soups, the teas, the heat.
And probably it came out of carrying the fire.
Yes.
Their tribe.
Yeah, it's an important thing. So I'm wondering, though, I just have this question. Why are you feeling, what's so low? Now, I know personally, but you also put a lot of stuff out there, Bibi, that you've had a lot of shifts going on, a major amount. Is that why your energy's low?
It's the physical energy, but it's almost like the THC from 30 years ago. Oh, no, let's make it longer than that.
Ooh, girl.
It's been boiling up and pouring into the tissues of my body that I feel very stoned, but I'm on a psychological, emotional high. I feel very joyful. And there's part of me that thinks, why the hell are you feeling such joy when people are going through this deep suffering collectively right now? So it just is what it is, you know. But the physical system is just on probably a biorhythmical kind of a thing. The physical, the emotional, the spiritual, you know, biorhythms. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but it's not a big deal other than the fact that it's right here in my face. I'm really stoned.
I was on a show yesterday.
We're so lucky.
I don't do that before I go on any shows, and I went on a show yesterday with Jerry, and I did it earlier. I'd finished the video, and I just want to experience the art afterwards in an altered state. I rarely do while I'm in, because then I come to and I'm like, oh Lord, you know, like I was out there. I was definitely out there, and I forgot how to paint. And while I was out there, right?
Yeah, I know what that's like. Yeah.
And so the video was all wrapped. It was like a long time coming. So, you know, I have the devil's lettuce, and I'm playing with it. I know I have to be on air later. And it was one of those experiences where I was just trying to hold on. Hello. I'm like, oh shit, I'm trying to get home.
Yeah, I know that one.
Right, JJ? And it's just like, and I've got to be on air. And I was like, I almost had like this panic attack, just the idea, but I think I did all right. We'll find out. But it's one of those where I could never do it before trying to communicate, because it shuts down that barrier for me of communicating properly where people understand me, you know?
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm like that meme.
Are you drooling on the floor?
Yes. Right. Where you're just trying to hold on. I'm like, okay. But it's a great state too if you can get lost in something like beautiful music, but not when you're trying to communicate.
Yeah,
it does something to the. Sorry, go ahead, honey.
No, I find the same. Like, I can't get anything productive done or have a coherent conversation. I mean, I don't know, to an extent, but it's usually very interesting more than usual. So,
yeah.
This is what's been happening to me without even having to indulge in or partake of anything. I'm in that state more often than not these days. And somebody, Tom comes up for a break because he offices downstairs, and he goes, "So, what's going on? What are you doing?" And I actually have been very productive, but it's been a very interior experience. And if somebody were to have been looking at me, I probably had been standing in the garden for an hour, staring at space, but so much has been going on.
JJ, and I think we can all agree, right, JJ, with that?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm just a balloon. A balloon on a tether. Like, oh my God, somebody's got to pull me back down.
But it's amazing how much on the inner space is actually going on. And that's what's, so magical. It can be. Yeah.
Yes. And what I love about both of you, you have the skill, the deep capacity, and the skill to express that inner world in a way that people can imbibe it and digest it and make something out of it for themselves. This is really important for those who are tuned in right now to be able to take the essence of the experience and to be able to express it so that people understand it.
Yeah. It's, I wanted to ask JJ because I saw that her neck of the woods, it's funny how we all land in the right place, I think. Mm-hmm. And JJ's landed in such a fantastic place, my God. But, they're locking it up where, they don't want anyone in or out. And I can't blame people for that. If I could be on an island, and I love an island, especially like the San Juan Islands, I could have my own island. I would, honey. Those are life goals. But so that's happening right now. And so I'm wondering how that's affecting you, JJ, on all levels. Like, how are you feeling about those kinds of big changes happening in your world over there?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I kind of saw this coming. I mentioned, been talking about it for a while now. Like, I knew that they were going to start closing, like, interstate travel, or however, closing down the borders of the states. I had a dream about that March 7th in the, overnight. Woke up like, oh, great, they're going to close down the tri-state area, make it so you can't cross borders and have checkpoints. I don't know that it's fully come to that extent, but it's, as far as I know, at least I know New Yorkers are getting checked when they're heading into Rhode Island. I don't know about the other states right now.
I had just seen an article, and I think you also shared it with me maybe too.
Yeah. Well, they're now considering closing down the bridge to Cape Cod, the bridges to get in. And I had also started talking about that too. Like, I bet you they're going to close down the bridge because this is a very tight-knit community. And
that's easy to close down.
Right. And we don't have a lot of medical resource. There aren't too many hospitals or medical, like urgent cares or anything for people. So I kind of was like, oh boy, I think they're going to probably make it essential only. And here it is today. I see the article. There's a petition in, and I haven't checked it in a few hours, but it was pretty close to being completely signed with the number that they wanted to try to put it through. So I'm looking, it's unfortunate for me because, I'm not going to really be able to see my boyfriend for a while, and that's hard for us. But in another sense, I understand it completely because Cape Cod is all about tourism for the upcoming season. And everyone's been fleeing to come to their second homes or, to come thinking it's safer here because we don't have a big number of cases with the virus. So I can understand it as well, especially now that I actually live here. But yeah, it's been weird. I mean, I've been able to keep positive and just sort of sit back and watch everything. And, but in the last week, I've felt really low energy and this morning I was telling Nish earlier, I was just like grouchy pants. Like I woke up I had a weird dream and woke up all, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and like everything was annoying me. Everything. So, I don't know. And the dream I had was really weird. It was bothersome to me. I had this strange lady just saying at the end, I was on a bus and she was sitting next to me and she just started talking to me. And she stood up in the conversation and said, I feel really bad for you fours. And I was like, excuse me? I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. She had started talking about some seemingly like political stuff or whatever. And then she goes, you fours, like the number 4. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then all of a sudden the entire bus load of people stood up like a mob and they were staring at me like I had just outed myself for not knowing something I should know.
Wow.
I had a weird, creepy feeling like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be here. And they know, and they found me out because I don't know what the 4s is. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
That is so significant though. And it approaches where I come from with this whole experience. I mean, of course, there's a ton of never let a good crisis go without milking the hell out of it. So it's there's all this stuff going on around it. But at the core, for me, this whole thing is about exposing bloodlines and it's about exposing genetic information more so than bloodlines, but that's an easy way for people to chew on it. And for that dream to come about, and this is the first I've heard of it, is extremely significant. Not only is it's significant on so many levels. Like 4 is such a powerful, stable. It's the foundation number, right. And it's the quaternity in the Jungian model. And I mean, it's everywhere. It's in the Bible. It's to get to the avatar. It's a big deal. Fixed signs. Oh my God, I don't even know where to go. But in context to the times we're in, it is major. So I'm glad you just shared that because it's bringing to light what I think is actually going on with the virus, which I do think is real as a bioweapon, but I don't think it's real in the way people are traditionally used to, like the pandemic experience, so it's got, and so that aspect of it's getting milked and worked for whatever's going on to create this world lockdown, which I have lots of woo around. I've been very open about talking about it. It's in my videos, but girl, that is significant. No wonder you woke up all grouchy pants.
It was weird because she commented on what I was wearing first, which was, she said to me, oh, you're looking all dressed up.
Ooh-wee.
And I was like, I moved my bag on my lap and looked down at myself and I was wearing like kind of mismatched clothes. I know I had great jewelry on, of course.
Of course, darling. You have great clothing too, so.
But it was really like, I was kind of just like, there's nothing special about what I'm wearing. Why is she sort of like pointing out what I'm wearing? I was just wearing like a wool sweater and a skirt and just a t-shirt and then some cool jewelry. And I'm looking at her and she's just wearing sort of a sack dress that's white with a black graphic on. It's sort of like a muumuu, I guess. And like a blue sweater, and she's got glasses, and she's maybe in her 60s with salt and pepper hair. And I'm looking at her like, I'm not dressed up. She's like, you're looking pretty nice. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then she starts talking about the weather. Oh, it's a beautiful day. I think it's supposed to be lovely for the holiday tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I heard it was going to be sunny. And then all of a sudden she starts going into some other, it seemed political from what I could recall, but I can't remember all of the conversation. And then it was that, like, when I didn't know what she was referring to, it was like, ooh, danger. I said the wrong thing by saying I didn't know what she was talking about, because now they're all looking at me like, ooh, there she is, get her. So, yeah, pretty creepy. And, yeah, it had me very irritable this morning.
It reminds me a bit of Oracle in The Matrix, where she doles out, she's always doing like mundane things, right? Cooking cookies or sitting on a bench feeding the pigeons. And there's this level of interaction that's just completely, you know, on the surface. And then she lays out the wisdom, the information that needs to be had. And then of course there's always this fear, because she's a glitch in the system, that the Agent Smith, the system itself, like, is going to notice and attack like an immune system. Right. And, yeah, it's got that vibe to it. Like there's, which is what this virus situation's about, is exposing a certain factor, genetic factor. And once it's exposed, then that's when the algorithms come for it. The immune system of the parasitic system, so not the natural system under it, but realize that we've been Trojaned. And so the natural system's been co-opted via a Trojan vehicle, you know, something that disguised itself as familiar but was not, and got in and then replicated and took over, very zombie-like, very body snatcher-like, and now is looking for these specific genetic sequences or anomalous stuff that's not anomalous in the way it was intentionally spliced into us, you know, just like our lifespans were spliced shorter, just like, you know, we've been manipulated genetically, of course, and the junk DNA and all that. So there's this exposure aspect to it that is very significant.
And your dream is completely speaking to that. I know it, but JJ, for the life of me, I cannot explain that in any kind of logical manner. But what you're both saying really validates my sense that I've been getting, that this so-called virus is something that's coming out of us. It's being released, and it's not at all what they say it is. It's not understood. And if you look at the way the testing has been formulated, it's all half-assed and back-ass words. They never located a virus. They can use it to even determine lung cancer and things. I'll put some links down below if anybody's interested, but that's neither here nor there. I really do feel what you were saying, Nish, that I can't quite recreate by words, but it's this aspect of the original content of the DNA, the physical structure of the way the avatar moves about in the world, that it was overtaken by this parasitic, whatever thing, force, tool, and it's being recognized. And that is, see, the thing is, yes, there are battles being fought, but they're on so many different levels. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling the amount of the battling, the amount of the wars. It's not just, one side against another. It's happening in so many fields and so many different levels and dimensions and realities, and on an individual basis as well.
Yeah. All that is how I'm perceiving this too. This is not a flat experience. This is not like you pick up a book and you read. Yeah. And it goes no further. This is multidimensional, and it's exposing that factor as well. It's exposing who's sold. And I know that's controversial, but it's my experience, and that's where I'm coming from. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but you know what? I am someone experiencing a very interesting life from beginning to this point. And that's the whole thing here, Bibi. That's what I keep getting at. So yeah, on one, and then of course, factions on the surface level, we've got this whole takeover anyway of why with, how is it all of a sudden we're in lockdown? But I want, as a world.
Yeah, exactly.
As a world. And I want to present some of these questions, like why, and here's the biggest question right now I have to ask the public and people thinking about what's going on. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that the guys and gals that appear to be the bad guys and gals are actually not? And I just want people to be open to that, because we're being so corralled into an idea of who's right and who's wrong and what's right and what's wrong. We already know this whole experience is rather inverse anyway, and it has been since at least 2012, but I suggest 9/11.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely 9/11.
I agree too.
Yes. And actually, I believe that the origins, the complete origins go back into the myths, but the origin of this particular phenomena really goes back into the Second World War and what that came out of. And that is an ongoing, phenomenon in and of itself. But yes, I think it's very important that for those who can hear this, be open to looking at what you see, what you sense, what you feel, what you're reading, what you're hearing in a new way. Be aware of where you are holding your beliefs and let go of them. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let go of them. It's so important.
Suspension of disbelief is a very powerful force, because it allows you to actually it allows you to open new neural pathways. It allows you to another petal of you to bloom outward. And otherwise you don't allow it to happen, and you get rigid and stuck, and you're that bud on the vine that doesn't bloom. And so there is a lot more than a lot of people are allowing their minds to wrap around here. And I know that already it seems really intense and hard for people to grasp the idea of this kind of global lockdown. And then when you start nitpicking the ideas of, well, how many people are, there's a lot of people, there's that whole Reddit section where they're going to local hospitals where there just is nobody. And, there's no crisis going on whatsoever. This stuff was going on in World War II. I want to remind people.
Right. Very important. Thank you, Nish. Yep.
Very important. And still to this day, people that come forward with these alternate ideas of what was going on with on the ground independent investigation of stuff that was unfolding during World War II are completely ostracized and called names and shunned. And they're from all different sides. So it's not just one side. It's not just one group of people. It's a lot of people. And that's an important thing to remember in this phase of that experiment that was started then.
Yes. And I'm very, I'm encouraged because this is part of what is getting shaken up. This tendency to polarize. Yes. There's been this hard glue on everything, and it's getting heated up. It's loosening up. People literally are being shaken to their core, and this is part of that shifting. It's all. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we've just been witnessing this total Stockholm syndrome the entire time, and people are like, oh, that's never going to happen. Oh, that can't happen. And it starts happening. And they're like, yeah, but no, and it's like, how many examples of it happening do you need to actually really understand that it is happening?
Well, up until now, the answer to that question is it keeps on happening because people have kept on going back to sleep. I think that's part of this shifting. I think we're going
because they were able to keep going to work. They were able to keep on the wheel.
So this lockdown, I am of the opinion lately, we'll see where this is going, but I'm floating with, it's not what it appears to be. I think. And look, initially, Tom, who just really does not want to go into any kind of conspiratorial territory, it gets him really pissed off. But with this, he said, "No, this doesn't smell right." When all over the world it was getting locked down, and even he said, "What is up with this? This is just not right." And I know he's not the only one who's not used to looking at the world in that way. So this, in and of itself, I think, is pointing me to look at the possibility that what you were saying earlier, Nish, that maybe the bad guys aren't necessarily the bad guys in this situation. Now, it's we don't really know, and it's impossible, but there are forces, and I know I've dreamt about them and I've written about them just in my own fictional voyages that I call soul stories. There are guilds, there are leagues, there are people who are tied by the heart and the soul and the blood through lifetimes, who have incarnated with the mission to take care of this takeover. And I feel that's happening now. And on a scale, something said the signal went out. The time is now. And that's why it coalesced. It felt like it coalesced overnight. We shall see. Are you still there?
Yeah, I was waiting for JJ to jump in on that.
I was just
because I agree.
Digest that, and I definitely agree too. I think that overnight is really what it is, and I think, and I'm seeing the same thing that you're seeing with Tom, where I know people that are just not interested, can't wrap their heads around any sort of controversial or conspiracy type thing, and they're like, no, there's something really weird that's not matching up. So people are, even the people that don't want to believe this stuff, they're coming around. they're definitely seeing there's something more to what is being shown to them. And I think, you know, you're telling us to be open, and that I'm losing my train of thought. You're telling us to be open, is really important, because I think that's part of the whole illusion of what's going on, is having us absolutely where we feel like we just cannot trust any source of information anymore. It's the part of the wreaking the havoc of having us just in complete chaos. And it's interesting because, yeah, I'm seeing all these videos of hospitals empty, and yet I have my childhood best friend of nearly 40 years who is a nurse in a major Philadelphia area hospital, who is now at home quarantined with pneumonia, and thankfully didn't test positive for COVID, but she was exposed to a patient that did, as well as a patient with swine flu, which she said she's never seen in 11 years of working in that hospital.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's some interesting, she said it was a nightmare in that hospital, and that they were out of everything, and that nurses were having to come to work with garbage bags and just all sorts of homemade masks with cloth napkins and scarves, anything they could gather up. And they were not allowed, the hospital told them they were not allowed to wear any masks anywhere where family members would see them, as to not create any panic.
That's
we're
really
seeing
effed
different,
up.
Unusual. Yeah, I see two sides of, like, I've got someone I know personally for almost 40 years and know well, telling me this right on the home front of these patients coming in, and
very interesting.
Total opposite going on too, which I believe is also happening.
There's a lot of different realities going on. I think I shared with both of you that Tom spoke with a very, very dear old friend the other night. And actually, I'm going to interview her. She's great. She's a nurse for the Veterans Administration, believe it or not. And she said that this thing, she thinks it's a bioweapon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, there's no, like for me, hands down in the very beginning.
Yeah. But she's open to it, and she's open to different realities and all of that thing. But she said, whatever this thing is, it's incredibly sticky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not all the same thing. There are different, contagions? What are these things? What would you call it? Not even a strain. There are different contagions, and one of them is possibly what Paul Levy talks about. In the Wetiko virus. Have you guys hooked into his stuff lately? I haven't I really want to do that. Yeah, I want to find out what you think about this, because there is, and this is proven, that the body will send out these, they're called exosomes, and when it feels that it's under attack. And exosomes are even released from cells. It's part of the immunity response. Mm-hmm. And when people feel fear and freak out, it goes into action as well. Mm. And it's released outside of the body when there's too much. They're shed like viruses, right?
Mm-hmm. So you think parasitical feeding, that's what comes to my mind immediately.
Yeah. And the exosomes are what is actually being measured on these tests. They're not measuring for the virus. What they're finding are exosomes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think they're testing for all sorts of different things. And I've seen, they'll come out with one thing one day, like, don't run out and get tested. And then I actually got a phone call from a local area code here that I did not answer because I don't answer calls from people I don't know.
Right.
But they left a 2-minute long voicemail, and it was I think from my insurance company, or maybe even from the state itself. I didn't know what the website was. I couldn't make it out at the end, but it was telling everyone to go get tested. Make sure you go get tested, even if you just are feeling some of the symptoms, and make sure to talk to your doctor. It was just going on, and I was like, wow, it's
how
like
strange.
they're calling and like soliciting people to go get tested.
For me, where I'm at with this is it's super woo for people to hear it. It's just super woo, but I just don't care anymore.
Good.
It's a galactic war, and I haven't cared for a minute, so I've been talking about it. But this is galactic, both inner and outer, and it's involving lots of different factions, and part of. So we need to look back. It's like playing, my family always had the table with the puzzle, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you could stop by and, everyone could work on these big, amazing puzzles that were so, intricate and hard. And so my aunt always had them a great puzzle out. And I just love that idea too. And so I think of everything. And as a child, that was part of how I grew up too. Like that, we were always doing puzzle-y kind of things. Mm-hmm. And so I've always viewed the world in that way. And as I'm processing these different pieces, there's just so much information here. The continuity of government, Cheyenne Mountain stuff that they put out from the government 2 days ago, where they're moving that in for continuity of government. My theory that this is a bloodline war or an expose of certain genetic factors and the need to get everyone in some way identified. So 23andMe only went so far, and where people were paying for it on their own, and all this IDing on your biometrics through social media sites, 3-letter social media sites, and Snapchat and all those little filters and everything that identify sequences and different structures. And I'll ground this in. When I was getting dental work and they did an MRI, and I look at my skull, and I don't know if I talked about it here, but it was just so cool because we're looking at my skull. It's an MRI, so you get to look at your skull, your brain, every which way. I'm like, I want a copy of that. I was geeking out so hard on it. And, where other people are just like, oh my God, that's my skull. They're just so surface level. It's like, oh, honey, look at that. Yeah. But I had the experience where the person, I don't want to out them, but the dentist so when he came in, he was looking at it and he's geeking out with me over it because it's new software. It's in his office, which is fantastic. You usually have to go to hospitals, but he's a big name around here. And he said he was taken back. He's like, oh, I never see this. And then he said something like, he used the word pure, and I'm like, okay, wait, what are you saying? Hello, what's going on here? Should I be concerned? What's going on? Like you lost your poker face there, bud. And now you need to explain. And it was all in the eye socket area. And then he went in and he started looking deeper at some of my he just started looking at as he's showing me, but it was just his initial, oh, I haven't seen that before. This is super rare. And then he wouldn't tell me what the hell. And it just caught him off guard. It caught him off guard. Like, okay, what? Because you know that I have a strange experience with people in the world. People treat me differently. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not a physical thing. Like it's not, I mean, I guess maybe it is now since my skull might be a little different. But I have always had this different thing. I'm like, and now that, so I'm wondering like, ooh, is this good? Is this bad? What's going on? And so that was and this is in the last year. And I thought, this is interesting. This is interesting information to file away. This is a puzzle piece.
Did he say what it was? Did he specify what he was seeing?
No, he went straight back into the narrative of shit we were geeking out. And what I've learned, Bibi, having been in weird situations, like when they pulled me out of elementary school and the one-on-ones and being filed into all that stuff with the guessing what's on the other side of the card and all that stuff.
Yeah, same. Right.
It's I have a knee-jerk experience with that kind of stuff where I don't want to be pulled out of my life because they pulled me out of my life.
I understand.
And so when people don't move further into something, it clearly caught him off guard. He was not expecting it. And then he went back to his normal narrative, and I flow with it nowadays.
I'm getting the creeps from that, by the way.
It's interesting. It's strange. And then I didn't want that goddamn tooth. Oh, I dropped it. Another one.
Go for it. I love it.
I was getting, because I had a cracked tooth from having had the other stuff replaced. And so I was getting a new cap. Right. And that's what led me in there. And but anyway, I have this fear now, I always do, of being pulled out of my life and examined like they did in elementary school. And I just don't want to go through that anymore. And so I ride the narrative out and I act like nothing's happening. I probably shouldn't even talk about this stuff. But
yeah, just be careful. But I fully resonate and have similar experience, and I totally understand that.
Yeah, and I know JJ does too. I mean, we're all here with that. So there's that. And this, I'm wondering, I postulate is, this is part of what's going on with this check. And strangely enough, with this global check of really needing DNA information on people, really needing biometric information on people, how that's the normal now, how things are going to be filtered through that, how algorithms are already in control of that. And I've already talked about how I believe we already hit singularity. Once you hit it, you hit it, and it changes everything, and it has a retro causality and moves backwards, forwards, to the side. And I believe we already hit it. So that's a lot of what's going on also. And so these factors that are happening are significant. I'm sorry about that. I'm getting some sort of weird call as we talk about this. And this is part of that galactic thing. So there are woo-woo narratives out there with like approaching, think about the Oumuamua thing. The artist's rendition of it looks like an asteroid, but then everyone came back and said, well, it's metal. And in the general consensus that there, of course, I mean, from some very credible mainstream sources saying, well, it really wasn't a rock.
Right, right.
And the artist rendition they gave to the public looked like a meteor, right? And, it looked like a rock, like any old rock you'd pick up somewhere. But the information that was being streamed out was, besides that visual, was the fact that, well, it's something different, and it propelled itself. It was not acting like something flying through space, whatever space is. And then here we are, and there's all kinds of anomalous stuff, not to mention overlapping this with prophecies. Hopi prophecy is one that's close to my heart. And, but all kinds from everyone's got their prophecies. I know the world's always ending to some people, I know that a lot of cults have built very lucrative businesses around that. However, in my lifetime, there's not been so much crazy, and we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to throw another knife in the horse, but there's, weather warfare, all this stuff. It's not like it was. So the Seventh Day Adventists that thought the world was ending every 7 days, my whole life, okay, well, now you might have your shot at your world ending. My whole life, I've just been like, ooh, everything's normal, basically, and been frustrated with people being on their wheels, right? Like, just get up, rinse, repeat, and telling people, asking people to step back, get into meditation, start asking questions about reality. First, why are you a slave? Why are you participating in this constantly? You've got a thug reality where you're being extorted and used for a source of money at the very least. And so here we are. Some of these narratives are now open to people. People are now like, okay, what is going on? Why are the skies being so darkened? What's going on here? So there's this outer space, I think inner space, but there's this outer space narrative of a coming of Planet X or Nibiru, of alien invasion, all the way from the von Braun stuff, which says, watch out, this is a staged event, be very careful, to Stitchin saying our creators are coming back. And we've got all this in the mix, and now we've got all this strange stuff happening. We've got governments going into their secure locations, it's coming out and telling us they're doing that. Mm-hmm. And then we have, I don't care how indoctrinated you are, you're in lockdown right now almost everywhere. We're all in lockdown. So no matter how indoctrinated you are in lockdown. If you're listening to this, it's pretty much everyone is social distancing, and some of us have to have papers to go to work, and everything is completely controlled.
I had an experience last night, and it's time for me to bring this in. It's very relevant. My best friend, who was my cousin, we were a year apart in age. We grew up together. She passed away in 2018. And I was reading last night on my bed. I was so comfortable, very cozy. The dogs were all around me, and I was sipping some tea, and I was in sort of this meditative state. I don't even remember what I was reading right now, but all of a sudden, it was very subtle. It was almost like a thing that was going on. But then I have learned to pay attention when I saw my cousin walk through my door into my bedroom. So I recognized her, and I closed my eyes, and I went inside. And when I have these kinds of things, it's not like I hear an actual conversation or their voices. It's just being with it and then having it unpack sort of over the next hour. And BJ is her name. She said, "Oh my God, I miss you so much. It's the time. And darling, there's no difference. It's this whole thing about life and death. You're dead and I'm alive. And
yes,
we're all in this together. Your belief is keeping you from hugging me in the moment right now." And I got all excited. I was jumping up and down, and she went away, but she's still around. I've missed her so much. Oh God, I've missed her so much. And it was just great to know, that she's around. And it's like, yeah, it sucks because she used to live in Arizona, and I moved to Arizona, and she's dead. But then no, she's not. She's present. Over the starting in 2012, I would get these feelings like I used to get when I did mushrooms all the time that, am I dead? I'm really dead. But that's what that comes from. It's belief in the reality that creates that reality.
Absolutely. It's, well, belief's a big deal. I mean, it's a contract.
Right. Which brings me to the RNA that's being tested. That's a portion of the DNA. So doesn't it make sense that these tests they're extracting the RNA supposedly to look for the virus, but the RNA are pieces of our DNA, and there must be something in there that they can. There must be some kind of marker for each individual.
Which is why they're only testing certain people. So, see, there's something in the guidelines of why they're testing certain people. Why waste their time if they can get certain reads immediately? So consider there are many viruses out there right now. They're really out there. They're always out there anyway. And but consider the fact that they're being so selective, and the powers that be seem to be, like JJ's friend, they seem to be real flippant about it in a way that's just where the workers that are on the front line of this are getting super frustrated, because the narrative is this is a global pandemic, and in a way it is, but it's not in the way it's not in the way like the movies, and it's so you need these factors to move further in. Okay, this person's anomalous. Now we need to, this is enough information for us to check further and dig down. And I just keep wondering, in my major dream from, I think, 2006, there is a big separation, and part of it was all about this grid that's going online now, the 5G, the tower. So it wasn't that it was just towers everywhere, and they came online, which is part of this singularity thing and all that. So there's something about, I can't get aside from the like puppy mills, animal mills, breeding mills, and which ties into synchronistically the Epstein stuff. It's not stuff being talked about by Epstein, but it's the deeper layer that I think was trying to be just rushed away with just the traffic, all the terrible stuff that did come out, thankfully. But there's a deeper layer with breeding going on.
Yeah, that was a smokescreen.
Oh, totally. There's very few of us actually saying that, because where they stopped the query is already bad enough, and it's enough for people to chew on and say these are terrible and bring it to the forefront. But the story is way deeper and darker.
Yes.
And I know this. I'm just going to leave it at that. I know this. And so one of the things you said that just kind of sparked me, though, is the dream. And JJ and I've talked about this. Because I talk dreams with a lot of people. In this last 3 months, everyone's having dreams. It just seems like everyone of past people that have passed, and animals that have passed coming forward. Pardon me. And ooh-wee. And speaking of coming forward, and Lord, I sent JJ a video. I'm talking and I flash you like I am so glamorous. And anyway, so Jesus.
Whoops.
There goes a baby. And so what's coming forward is an interesting thing. And I put in House of the Holy Blood, the living are dead and the dead are living. This is so thin. This idea of this dream of life and what it is. And with the decaying of how the world around us works because of those that we've allowed to govern us, control us, govern, guide us, see over us, and choose what's what in our world. And if you don't go along with the rules, and of course this illusion that you get to play in some places, because some places don't dream it that way. Some places dream total control. But here, we have like a democratic dream going where we can vote and change. And yet nothing, you see it's all the same players. The playbill's always the same players. And now that so many people are seeing there's a glitch in that. And one of the things is curious to me, there's something going on right now that's acute and it's happening and it's a big deal and they want us inside. And I do think it's definitely to get total control, but it's not in the way they think. This is not a world conspiracy to get Trump out of the office. Please, people. Oh my God. That is the most ridiculous narrative I've seen out there. The whole world goes on lockdown to get Trump out. Come on, girl.
Yeah, really.
It's ridiculous.
I can't even pull up to that. And so, no, this is about getting us inside. And this is where I was saying earlier, maybe, is this, and tricking people into passively prepping, by the way. So all these local governments have been saying, prepare, they're, rolling blackouts, rolling brownouts, have some extra stuff, have 6 weeks worth of supply. That narrative's been going on for like 3 years, steady, everywhere, in England, everywhere. It just is a sensible thing to do for severe weather, right? And so, and then as this amped up and the weirdness of the toilet paper run and all that, but it passively also, it got people into thinking, maybe I should have some beans. And so what's that about? What's that whole thing about? And why are we being actually locked in our houses, especially now that this is unwinding and the viral aspect of this is unwinding. It's unraveling, but it doesn't matter because we're in lockdown now until, who knows when, and we can't do much, and the lockdown's getting stronger. And meanwhile, there's stranger stuff going on outside in the skies. There's stranger stuff going on outside.
Have you been looking up at night?
Girl, I've been looking. I'm always looking up, Bibi.
Yeah.
There is strange stuff going on.
It's all over the place here, and where I am, it was the skies were clear, and you could see so much before this thing happened. Now, oh my God, the phenomena, and I can't even go into it, but I want to go back before I lose my train. You're talking about this is a hidden aspect of a benevolent desire to keep us inside, to protect us. I don't think it's necessarily about being inside as much as it is. There's something that gets activated when the physical bodies are near each other.
I talked about that extensively recently.
I got to listen to that.
Yeah,
I got to listen.
That one was on the. Oh my God, I'm on so much stuff all the time. Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This is a multi-layer. Mm-hmm. This is a multi-layer situation. We'll just put it that way. Mm-hmm. One of the things that happens is, we know our biorhythm with our heart, right? And it extends out, our psychic bodies and all that extend out, like 3 feet. And so, and when we come in close contact, we become more than we are individually and all that. And that's why it's hard for empaths and introverts, and where you have to learn, you have to learn those skills, and everyone is to some degree. You're coming in contact with somebody else's auric field, and that's not woo-woo science, people. You say auric field, and it's like New Ager. No, I'm not. That
doesn't happen here. Don't censor yourself. It just This is a given. Okay,
I know, but I feel.
I understand.
I feel the triggering, and but so right, that's absolutely part of it. But part of that is separating out. This is where my bigger picture here is that I've not really laid out anywhere fully, is that there needs to be so when when you're breeding fish, I've had a little experience in this. You want to separate them out from the school. You want to set ooh, I like that one, and I want to get those characters. And I learned this from my good friend Jen Wolf. And there's something about separating things out so you can get a clear identity of it. And because it's picking when they're in a school, they pick up the other, first of all, fish especially that run in schools too. There's like a whole like birds and murmuration and all that. They start acting like a hive mind in a weird way. Mm-hmm. When you separate things out, you can get more. It's like painting, I think, is a better example. You can see the pure pigment. And then you can go from there. And it's just that pigment, but it becomes, and then this is what I've always said in art, I don't want to see tube to art, tube to canvas paintings. That to me bores me. And as a trained artist and color theory and all that, I mean, I've seen it move me. It moves me too. Don't get me wrong. But this was my old school art craziness mind and being trained, so I want to walk up to a painting and say, how did they get that color? That's a mix of many things in it. It's new. How did that color happen? And so that's what I'm saying. There's something about needing to separate biorhythms as much as possible. And that ties into this whole algorithmic thing. This is tying into this other dimensional aspect of all this. And, I mean, I could just I don't want to take over the whole show. I feel like there's so much more that could be added from you and JJ. And I feel like I'm commandeering this whole thing. I don't want to. I just want to present.
Okay.
You're not. No, this is very important.
Relevant.
Yeah, I agree with JJ. And, you're talking about what I call the workbench, and this can be applied to life. And it's actually a spiritual muscle. It is, you learn how to look at whatever is going on. This can be an experience on the inside. It can be observations that are seen, felt, smelled, heard, etc. And you pare down to the elemental pieces of it, where you can extract down to the pure pieces of something, put it on the workbench, and see how it all fits together. Yes. And play with it. Okay. So this is a great way when you open your mind and your heart and well, the mind and the heart, basically, to to stretch and expand and apprehend what is going on. And then you take those pieces and you can make something. So this is what Nish is doing here. And I, for one, want to hear more. You don't feel that you're commandeering, because sometimes, the balance is going to be all JJ talking or it'll be all me talking. I'm not, this is so important right now. Can you expand on what you were just saying, Nish, please?
Thank you. I mean, of course I can, I can.
Yes, I do.
Oh, dear.
You got permission, baby.
I think that no matter, okay, so let me go here. No matter what is going on, I think that we're going to see soon a bigger picture, that there's going to be a bigger revealing of what's going on. And for some, it may appear to be terrifying. And for others, it may be liberating. And so I want to put it that way. I don't feel like this is this doesn't have heavy feet. Like it's happening now. This is go time. And whatever's happening is going to get revealed very soon here on the bigger level. That said, there is this idea that, something strange happened in my kitchen.
Do you want to check it out?
No, but I feel like I've said enough for right now. Is that all right?
Of course it is. Of course. I fully trust that.
I have a lot more to say. There are a lot of puzzle pieces that I've personally been able to put together with the help of others. We never do anything on our own. And, but where I have some special skill sets also
Yes.
that I came into this experience with in life that got me pulled out of school and, has isolated me as a person in life. I do come to the table with some special skill sets. So, not to sound like, Liam Neeson.
Well, the fact of it is you do have special skill sets. And the fact is that you have been speaking a lot, putting out into the atmosphere for people to contemplate and learn. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put links because you do have a lot to your information that you're sharing now, Nish, is so enriching the world of those of us who want to be open-minded, who are seeking the greater pieces of what we can put on our own workbenches, what I was speaking about earlier. So yeah, look, I will definitely, I'll talk to you later about it, Nish, and I want to share the best of what's relevant. But I do have an audience from the Bibi blog, and we're gaining people, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that there are those who really want to hear and listen to what you've been saying lately. And I haven't had the time, I'm going to dedicate some time to hold down with myself and, cuddle up with the dogs and listen too.
Well, I want to say this, and it's one of the reasons, I'm really close with just a very few people out there. You and JJ is, so like JJ comes to the table with an amazing amount of this stuff too. I think I don't know, JJ, for you, but she's not as vocal as I am publicly. And for whatever reasons, but I do think, and I'm not trying to add to JJ's table, but holy crap. So, and this is where I think Bibi, with people that might be listening to us all, I think a lot of us are becoming, even if we weren't aware of it, activated now, and stuff is coming forward. And I think that we need to, and so when things find us, when information finds us that we respond to, that's an activation. And somehow we realize personally that, this information is ringing deep to me. And the reason it's ringing deep to anyone out there is because they personally have experienced it or have those skill sets. You know what I'm saying? In air quotes.
Absolutely.
And so it's not special. I am not special. It's just that I didn't get, I wasn't muted early on, like so many people get muted. And for that, I'm grateful, because I had the hard early life where I couldn't be raised by my real parents. They're trying to protect me. And I didn't understand that. And they presented it in stories that made it sound all right to a little kid that was feeling abandoned. And, but I've understood it for years and years and years now. And the seeding my mother did before she died and all this is, so my stuff's just always been really on the surface, and I've been aware of it and not in denial of it. And I just want to say to people that are hearing what we're talking about here, we're not alone, and you're not alone. And this right now, there are these factions that want you to sound that want to isolate you and put you into depression and tell you what you're thinking and feeling is absolutely logically not true. And here's the chain of evidence why it's not, of scientific theories of why everything you're thinking and saying is not possibly right, and all that crap that is just not allowing you to be free. I get needing to be grounded. I get it as somebody who has walked the paranoia road in my life long ago, that allow yourself to blossom. Allow yourself to blossom. Because Bibi, at the end of the day, I'm not a doom and gloomer. And we always say this on this show. None of us are doom and gloomers. It's a matter of accepting what you are. You're a black swan. You're not a goose. You're not a duck. You're not a crow. Just accept, who your mommy is. Your real mommy.
Beautiful. Beautifully put. JJ.
Yes,
what Nish said, it is so true. You have a way of eliciting in me almost every sentence when I'm privy to what you're saying. If it's a personal conversation or if you're speaking somewhere, there's an activation in me that, Nish was pointing to. And with you, I get these absolute amazing visual downloads from your words. And I go into kind of a dream time. So I both of you, I don't want to sound repetitive and trite and hokey, but God damn, I am so lucky to know you both and to be able to put this little thing together. We can put it out there. And I want the words to reach people's hearts and minds now. It's so important. And that being said, JJ, what do you got to share?
My goodness. Well, yeah, I think that, I don't talk as much as you guys, but I try to be relevant when I do. I've got a lot of things that when Nish is talking about activation and all that, I think I've had several in my lifetime. And recently, in the last sometime later in February, I had a strange incident with the sun. I mean, I've been chronicling the sun and the changes and the lighting for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. Seen me post, and you do your own thing, Bibi, but we notice these strange anomalies and things. So recently, in the last probably, I think 5 weeks now, I had a bizarre incident while I was on the bus heading to Boston, where I looked out the window and yes, there's a bit of a film on the glass of the bus, so it cuts the UV light and all that. But I was looking out the window at the sun for a second, and I was like, oh, wow, it's beautiful, So I just kept looking at it, and I was like, oh. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it's just beautiful. It's amazing. And the bus stopped. It switches. You have to get off and switch on the way. And I remember standing outside and looking up, and I realized that I could just look at the sun now without having to look away. And I know there's sun gazers, as Nish said before, but this was something like odd for me. I wasn't doing this before, and I started just really being, and any time of day, I know there's certain times of day that are safer or easier to look at the sun, but I can now do it any time of the day.
Wow.
For extended periods of time, and actually see what direction it seems to be sort of oscillating, rotating. I've seen it go in both directions. I've seen it go clockwise. I've seen it spraying out some sort of color frequency waves or something going on. Mm-hmm. I've been able to see what I think are coronal mass ejections coming off of the surface while looking at it with the naked eye, with any sort of binoculars or telescope or anything. And I've just been having a strange communication with it, I guess we'll call it. I mean, that started last year, which is why I started taking the photographs all the time. But I just got the sense more recently that it's assisting us in whatever is happening with this virus event, whatever we want to call it.
Gorgeous, beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I feel personally connected with it, which is odd. It sounds strange, but whatever. It is what it is. I feel like I'm having some sort of psychic or whatever experience with it, and I'm also getting the sense that it's assisting the planet with the whatever waves it's putting out that I'm observing. So I've had that going on as far as something new for me, because I do have, we all know I have all these dreams and visions and whatever, but I haven't quite seen this before.
That's such important information, because from my own experience is that the older I get, the more I'm around, I am more and more drawn to the sun and feeling it as without the sun, we could not exist in the way that we are. So and there's an intelligence, but beyond the intelligence, which is a lot of people to even take in and, even think about it. The sun is intelligent. Yeah, the sun is intelligent. But the sun is all about the heart and the soul for me. And what's happened is things are becoming stiller. And Gigi, I love that you brought that up, because I wouldn't have put my focus on these thoughts. And it's important. It's really important. There is a benevolent energy. And
yeah, I would feel like it's definitely a huge life force for the planet.
And we're not alone.
No, and I feel it is intelligent, absolutely.
That's so important. Thank you for that. It's huge. Yeah. And your photographs of the sun are quite extraordinary, because what you've been doing is capturing what you yourself are seeing. That's how I'm somehow,
right? We can all, I'm sure, get different light anomalies and things with our cell phone cameras and regular cameras and whatever. But I've noticed that it's definitely corresponding to what I'm seeing, and even more so, at least last year. Now I'm just seeing it with my naked eye. I'm just seeing all of these unusual things, and a double sun, like Nish had mentioned in the beginning, a few times now. And I've seen it do even sort of a cross shape, like a compass cross with beams coming out, and just without taking a photograph, just with my naked eyes. So I'm observing a lot of, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I do think that it does have something to do with everything that's shifting now, and it's definitely a benevolent thing.
Do you think that this is a change, or do you think that it's possible that it's always been this way and that whatever the fog is dissipating in some way?
I do feel, I actually was asking myself that the other day, and I was hypothesizing. I was thinking, I was like, maybe they just haven't wanted us to look at the sun the whole time, and maybe we haven't been able to see it like it's being hidden from us for some reason. And I also felt that it was being kept from us too. And like there's been some sort of veil or something between keeping us apart from it.
Well, that speaks to my experience with my cousin BJ last night, that pretty much the astral realm there's a dissolution of the veil that's happening.
Right. And I think that's why we're getting these unusual, like Nish seeing the two suns and and all the, we've had some really weird stuff happening.
This is, I feel so alive right now. I'm like so different. I'm so activated. I'm buzzing and I'm grounding as I'm saying this. I'm sitting outside, but it's just a life-giving force being connected and contemplating these things actively. It's really, really good to do that.
And as we talk, the sky here now is back to blue with normal-ish, puffy clouds, and the cast of the light out there is like apparently normal. So it's not like that lit from both sides, eerie Hitchcock lighting,
right?
Which I find extremely interesting. So whatever that was, I don't know how to maneuver that in my head, how that works. And how does it work that I saw two light sources and at the beginning of this, the sky goes dark and now the sky's cleared up and now I see just what is apparently normal. Where does the other light source go? What is going on with that? I'm so perplexed by it.
Yeah, and I feel like this is part of it. It might be just another grander level of the weird glitching that's been going on lately.
The term, the great revealing, because I was thinking the shift, the great revealing just flashed in my head.
I love the drama of it. I do.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, there's so much, and it's the thing, like, so this is a good example. So you move about your day, something weird happens. And for me today, I just happened to see two shining orbs in the sky. Hell, the Moody Blues album. and it was so anomalous that it just took me by surprise. I had to get into it, look at it. And here I am now at the end, close to the end of this with you two. And it's back to what what my conscious mind expects to be normal. And also then the mind wants to wipe away the strangeness. It's just this weird things. It's this weird dynamic that we go through, and it's part of the biosuits. It's part of
exactly. I was just thinking that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's like part of it is just like a self protection mechanism, looking out for yourself so that you don't
fall down and start
psychologically, right?
Yeah.
And another part is there's something cut into our sequence that is set there to wipe us kind of in a weird way, where there is this chain of chemical reactions that says, that was then, and that, which is part of the weirdness of memory and dreams and things that have come before, things that are ahead of us, where it's wispy, it's intangible at some point. And so it's easy to just move on, apparently move on, because we're in a weird stasis at the same time. So
it's that amnesia effect. That's what I call it, where you're, I use it when I'm talking about my dreams and where I feel like,
right,
as I'm waking, there's that amnesia effect. Because I've been, if you've had a surgery and you've been on general anesthesia, where it just all sorts of, it's like a wispy, hazy, it fades away and you just can't see it anymore kind of thing.
And it becomes a rebel act to say, yes, I did see that with my own two eyes. Yes, I experienced that. And then you have to go into the world of others if you're sharing stuff like this and deal with everyone saying, no, you didn't. This and throwing out every reason why you didn't see that. And that
exactly.
You both know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But when we do share and we remember our dreams actively, it's we're flexing that neural muscle. And there are papers written that show that neural pathways can be grown. Even in people who are like my age, when you get old, and getting older is a really it can be a really good thing, which I'm just beginning to learn. But this is very important to remember, that one way of fighting against, I wish I could come up with more peaceful terms, but dealing with that amnesia, learning how to work with it, is to actively make a commitment to find ways and tools to remember and to keep on doing it. It's a practice. You get better at it.
Well, there's that whole psychological factor with like the whole retiring psychosis that goes on when people have been really active and they get to whatever age, usually it's like 65-ish.
Exactly. It's the belief system that creates a biosphere. That is a collective thing. One wants not to buy into that, right? The mysteries are very apparent, even if you read in the so-called mainstream science.
Oh, absolutely. See, this is the fear, and this is where our genetically we were cut short as far as lifespan, is that you get too much time to think, and you start thinking, then you start questioning, why am I doing, what's the definition of insanity, right? And so you start questioning these, why you've been doing this, why that. You start re-questioning, and this is that thing that's powerful in elders that all of a sudden find themselves with, or people fortunate enough to be able to not have to do the grind every day. When you get time to think, and after you go through the withdrawal symptoms of being on a wheel, and on the repetitive wheel, the wheel of fate, the Catherine wheel, the grinding stone, these are powerful symbols in the world. When you are freed up from that and you have free time and you get past the hangover of that, you become very powerful, and people become very powerful. And that's one of the things. Or, some people can't deal and they suicide themselves, or they go deeper into ways of drowning it out, alcoholism and right, all that stuff. But for those that push through, they become very, very powerful. And then what happens? If they start connecting and interconnecting, we start seeing a very powerful grid of consciousness evolving. And so I want to throw that out there again. This time on lockdown and in lockdown should be used to activate that. So people need to move through the what do I do aspect, and the depression of this, and the worry about that bill, and the worry of how things are going to work out, and start tapping into yourself, because this is a gift right now. This is a global gift, and it can create a massive, massive collective conscious wave of awakening for those that are able to do it.
It has begun. And on that note, I don't have anything to add to that. JJ?
I agree. I think that people should try to be as clear and as sober and as lucid as possible right now. Because so many people want to just constantly numb things out. And I understand it. I've been there, and, it's difficult sometimes to really fully be aware of what's happening around you and what's happened in your past, and try to come to terms with different things, your quote unquote demons and whatever. But I think this definitely is the time to be as clear as you can possibly, clear-headed as you can possibly be, for your own good and for your own conscience and for the collective. I think there's a lot that we're going to see if we are open enough and clear-headed enough to actually let ourselves see it and experience it.
Beautiful. My heart is so open. And I love you both so much. Thank you for joining in with me today. I love our conversation so much. And I promise this is going to go out a lot sooner than the last one did.
They go out when they need to.
I know this is true, but I feel an extra fire underneath my butt. I want people to hear this. This was a lot of benevolent energy was infused through the words today. I really feel that, and I want to share that with people. So,
I love you both, my loves, and
you guys.
This just makes me very happy that we have this time together when it happens, and I'm grateful. Thank you, JJ and Bibi.
Same here. Thank you guys.
Love you guys. Thank you. Love you. We'll talk soon.